Yahweh by Shem Yahweh. All right, this the brother Yair Radad of WFI Indiana Camp, coming at y'all with a quick cold cut through the spirit. Simply just going into leave the world behind, please. We need our people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, to remove themselves from the ways of this world. You understand? We're not talking about going to another planet and all this other stuff. No, we're talking about the renewing of your mind, the way that you walk, talk, the way that you think, the things that you take pleasure in. You gotta separate yourself from that. You understand? You gotta separate. It shouldn't be the same as somebody that's in the world. All right? It gotta be different. You have to change, right? When you become that new creature, you understand, and it's true. When you become that new creature in Yahweh Shem Yahweh, then guess what? The things that you do, how you carry yourself, what you think about, all those things, guess what it got to do? It got to change. And it got to change, you understand, with the mind frame and the mindset of pleasing the Most High God, man. Pleasing the Father. You understand? Walking in the ways of the Lord. Keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. You understand? Helping your nation, helping your people. With all those different things, you begin to do what? That's the process of you leaving the world behind. You separate yourself from the world. Because if you don't want to be somebody that the only difference between you and somebody in the world is you know you're an Israelite. That's it. You still do the same things that they do. They smoking weed, guess what? You smoking weed. They committing fornication, guess what? You committing fornication. They commit adultery, you commit adultery. They still out here gang banging, you still gang banging. You don't, you gotta be different. You understand? In multiple, many, in all aspects, you gotta be different. And it starts, you understand, with your mind, right? But we're gonna get a couple classics real quick. This is the book of 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15. It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So you can't claim to love the Most High God, but you love the world too. You got a lot of people that do stuff like that. They move, and you understand their actions show that they love the world, but with their mouth and with their lips, they say they love them, but they say they love the Lord. That's hypocrisy, right? Whatever your words are saying, your actions should follow that. Not my words are saying this, but my actions doing something else. All right, the Lord hates that, man. All right, let's go to the book of Romans. All right, let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 12. All right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 12, and verse 2. It says, and be not conformed to this world, meaning don't mold yourself after the liking of this world. You molding yourself after the wickedness that the world has to offer, what Babylon the Great has to offer, right? Sodom and Gomorrah, Egypt, so on and so forth. What this world puts out, propagates, and wants the people to fall in line with. You can't fall in line with those different things. They pushing the LMNOP community. You can't fall in line with that. They pushing gang violence and hatred towards your own people. Guess what? You can't back that. You can't push that. But no, you got to do the opposite. All right? So you don't want to conform to the ways of this world, right? Let's read on. It says, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So it starts with your mind. You understand? It starts with changing your thought process, changing how you think. Hey, before you came into the knowledge of this truth, or if you just now coming into this knowledge of the truth, guess what? Hey, you would think a certain way. But now that you're in this truth, guess what? Or you being exposed into this truth, guess what? You have to change that. You got to change that. You understand? Somebody might do something to you. How you would have handled it back then probably would have been in violence. But now you understand forgiveness. You understand loving your brother. You understand, you know what? It ain't that deep. I can be a man about the situation and forgive. You understand? I don't have to hold a grudge towards my brother. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. You understand? But you moving in that spirit of righteousness according to the precepts, according to the scriptures, according to that renewing of your mind that you get from what? The washing of the word. Like the Lord said, now you are made clean. You understand through the words which I spoke unto you. Paraphrasing. All right. So let's go to the book of, matter of fact, let's go to the book of Lamentations, chapter 4. All right, let's go to Lamentations, chapter 4. And 1. Right, it's the book of Lamentations, chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, how is gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthly pictures, the work of the hands of the potter. So at one point in time, our people was a glorious people. Like we say all the time, we was a glorious nation. Right, you read the book of 1 Samuel, you had nations that looked at us as gods. You understand? They said, how will we be delivered out of the hand of these mighty gods? You understand? We used to be a wise and understanding people. That was like being compared unto fine gold. But guess what? Now that fine gold has been dimmed. That light has been dimmed. Why? Right? Because of rebelliousness. Because of not keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because of going away from the true way that the Most High God intended for us to walk in. All right? Let's drop down to verse 17. It says, as for us, as for us, our eyes have yet failed with our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. You see that? In you got to think 4th of July, Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all these different so-called holidays or holidays, our people, some of our people, a lot of our people conform to those ways. You understand? They conform to this. They conform to those ways. They follow those ways. You understand? We have no business celebrating 4th of July. It don't have nothing to do with us. When they got independence, we did not get independence. We were still slaves after 1776. But because we watch for our nation, we want to be like these other nations, right? When you want to be like the other nations, you look at those same nations to try to help you. And guess what? That's insanity. To continuously look toward a nation that shows time and time and time again, they don't got nothing for us. And why should they have something for us? You understand? We got to realize that the only thing that can help us is the Most High God. Keeping these coming back, you understand, to the covenant, to these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? But we got to stop trying to be like these heathen. That's a part of being a part of the world as well, because you being a part of the world, right, is doing the things that they do, thinking the ways and how they think, the logic that they have, when we supposed to be walking in and conform to the ways of these scriptures, conform to the ways of the law. You understand? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Right? How did that gold that once shone bright, why is it dim now? Right? This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, and verse 32. It says, and that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. Because at one point in time, that's how our people thought. Our people still think like that. So like our people still think like that. You understand? This is talking about in the end when the Lord is reforming us. You understand? When the Lord is redeeming us, right? And taking that mindset away from us. But guess what? Our people say we will be as the heathen. We will be as the families of the earth. And guess what? When you celebrate these holidays, right? When you walk after the ways of these nations and the things that they set out and put out, guess what? That's you saying the exact same thing, right? You may not say it verbally. You might not say, oh, I want to be like the white man, or oh, I want to be like the Asian man, or oh, I want to be like da 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 da. I want to be like the African man. But guess what? Your actions is speaking, right? But your actions, guess what? Is speaking for you. Like we talked about at the beginning. Hey, Your words might say one thing, but what are your actions showing though? What are your actions showing? Right? Didn't the Lord say, hey, they should be known by their fruit? Right? Real quick, since we already in Ezekiel, let's go to Ezekiel 33. Real quick. What time is it? All right. It's the book of Ezekiel chapter 33 and verse 31. It says, and they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. You don't want to be like this. You don't want to be somebody that hear the words of the Lord. You see that it's plain as day on what our job is to do, and you still don't do it. You still don't do it blatantly. Right? It says, but they will not do them, for with their mouth they shew much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. So your mouth saying one thing, but your mind, which is connected to your actions, guess what it's saying? Another thing, man. You don't want to be like that. You can't be like that. But instead, what do you got to do? You got to continue to separate from this world, man. Because when we continue to be like the world, when you continue to be like the world, that gold, that one shine, like we keep saying over and over again, guess what? It ain't nothing, man. It's dim. It's not worth nothing, right? That light that you once had, and that we once had as a people, right? This is the book of Isaiah chapter 30, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit. So when you people cover themselves with the covering of the ways of the so-called white man, with Catholicism, Christianity, Baptist, Jehovah's Witness, or so on and so forth, all these different religions, they cover themselves with the so-called Asian man, with Buddhism, spirituality, and all this other stuff. They cover themselves with the Ishmaelites, right? With the Arabs, with being Muslim, and being in Islam, and NOI, all this other different stuff, and the list goes on. The list goes on. Every time you not conforming to the ways of the scriptures, the ways that the Most High God commanded us to be likened unto, guess what? You covering yourself with the covering of what? With these nations. And the Lord said, hey, they shall help in vain, man. They shall help in vain. It does nothing for us as a people, right? It says, reading on, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin unto sin. You see that? So we can't do that, but instead you got to do what? Separate it. There's no strength in being likened unto the nations. There's no strength in following after what the nations follow after. There's no strength in that. Our strength is in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, man. That's our plug, right? Like I always say, if you right now, when you not, as a nation, I'll speak as a nation of people, when we not following after the ways of the Lord, we like a lamp that's unplugged. There's no power, right? But when we get on one accord and you understand, follow what the Lord commanded us to do, guess what? That plug get plugged in, and now guess what? The power sources it goes through the lamp, and now we're a light. We're back to that light in which we're supposed to be as a nation of people. You, on the individual level, you become back to that light when you get plugged in. You understand? Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 107. All right, we ready. Speed through this a little bit. All right. It's the book of Psalms chapter 107. Bear with me. It's the book of Psalms chapter 107, and I want verse. Man, this is all this is good. I'm gonna start at verse 10. Right, this is Psalms chapter 107 and verse 10. It says, such as sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, being bound in affliction and iron. Right? It says, because they rebelled against the words of God and contemned the counsel of the Most High God. So you see all throughout the scriptures, and you see in life as a nation, when we go away from the words of the Lord, as a Hebrew Israelite, not as whatever people refer to themselves as now in these different denominations of Christianity or Catholicism or whatever other religion that don't got nothing to do with us. But when we go away from what we were set out to be, hey, the result of what we see now every single day, that's what it is. That's the cause of it. The cause is rebelliousness. That's the cause of why we in the position we in as a people today. You understand? It's not hard to be understood, right? Let's go to the book of Proverbs chapter 4, right, and 14, right? It says, enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. So when you see the ways of the world, instead of doing those things or partaking in those things, you want to separate yourself from it swiftly. You got to get away from it. You got to, don't go. You want to be prudent in situations like that, instead of just allowing it to you just going with the flow. And now you caught up in the trap. What's that trap? The trap of Satan, man. And what it's going to cause you to do is going to cause you to do what? Go into the ways of the world. Now you conforming to the ways of the world. Now you looking at it like, oh, no, I was just one time, or no, I was just this. Now you take a liking unto it. You taking a liking unto it. Now you you want that same feeling over and over again. Right? It's an old saying to say, the devil, it's an old saying, man. They used to say this in the world, but they say, the devil, he'll take you further than you ever wanted to go. You wanted to go down the street with him. Now you all the way around the corner. Y'all going from block to block to block to block. He'll take you further than you ever wanted to go. Because you looking at it like, it's just this one thing. Nah, it don't work like that. You don't want to seek those things out. You don't want to stare at it, you examining it. Nah, you gotta pass by it. You understand? Get away from it. Get far away from it. Right? Even on the mental level, man. Right? You don't want to feed your mind just anything. You understand? You don't want to feed your mind just anything. You want to be real, very, very, very select with what you feed your spirit, what you feed your mind, what you give unto yourself. Right? Let's go to the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 26. Right? In verse 9. Right? It says, gather not my soul with sinners, nor my life with bloody men, in whose hands is mischief, and their right hand is full of bribes. So, you got to pray to the Most High God, when you see these different things, when you see the ways of the world, that you don't get enticed by those different things. That from you seeing the ways of the world, you don't take a liking unto it to where now you kind of, you don't want to fall into those temptations. When you fall into those type of temptations, it's hard to get out, man. It's hard to get out because now you'll be seeking and chasing over and over. You want that feeling because you liked it. You understand? But you don't want to do that, right? Let's go to the book. All right. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? Also known as Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 5. Right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 5. It says, whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned. Right? So if you take pleasure in things that are off, you take pleasure in folly, you take pleasure in wickedness, it says, he shall be condemned. Word of it's not going to end well. The latter end is not going to end well for you. Right? It says, but he that resisteth pleasures crowneth his life. So when you resist those pleasures of the world, you laying up for yourself a crown of life, man. And that's what we all want at the end of the day. We all want that crown of life. So you have to resist those pleasures, not give into it, not entertain it. You understand? Not stare at it for a long time and kind of envision. Nah, you don't want to seek those things out. You don't want to seek them out. You don't want to take pleasure in them. But like we read in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and 14 on down, guess what? You want to get far away from it. You want to avoid it. You see what I'm saying? At all costs. At least, you get bit with that, man. least you get bit, like you read about in the book of Sirach. I believe that's Sirach chapter 21, going into the serpent. You understand? Let me get that real quick, matter of fact. Then we're gonna close up. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 21, and verse 2. It says, "Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent." Right? So you gotta look at sin like it's the worst thing ever, because it is the worst thing ever. Like it's a snake, or whatever you may quote unquote fear or not like or take a liking into, whatever it is, throw up manure. You gotta look at sin in such a way, because that's what it is essentially. But here's the point. It says, "Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. For if thou comest too near it," it didn't say if you pick it up, if you grab the snake. It said if you get too close to it, man. You get too close to it. You getting enticed. You get damn, all hell breaking loose. It said what? It said, "For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men." You see that? So you don't even want to get near it. You don't want to get close to it. You want to avoid it at all costs, right? And you want to be able to stay keen and prudent when it comes to what you give to yourself, mentally, spiritually. You understand what you expose yourself unto. You understand? You got to know your strengths, and you also got to know your weaknesses. You understand? And set up battlements for that, right? We're going to end it on this right here in the book of 2 Corinthians. Right? It's the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 6, and verse 17. It says, "Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate." It said, "Be ye separate," man. You can't call yourself holy. You can't call yourself, which means set apart or different, right? The Hebrew word kodash, right? You can't walk in the fullness of that if you in the midst of it. If you in the midst of the world. And what do I mean by being in the midst of the world? When you take a liking unto the things that the world taking a liking unto, that's wicked, right? That's wicked. You can't take a liking into wicked things. You take a liking unto smoking weed. You take a liking unto fornicating. You take a liking unto hating your brother. You take a liking into the same things that the world does that's wicked. You take a liking in those things. You can't do that. That's not being holy like the Lord commanded us to be. That's not being holy like the Lord created us to be. You know what I'm saying? Right? But it says, "Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you." It says, "And will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty." Right? So with that, Lord willing, brothers and sisters edified. Shabbat shalom. Kwam Yashala. Shalom, family.